I don't really get, again, what were they looking for? Were they looking to make sure you didn't just start laughing? I can't believe
it
you
was,
think this is,
It was much more intense than the last year at uni we've just had, what they expected from us. The standards to become a mortgage advisor for the Abbey National in 2004 seemed to be higher than the standards to become a teacher in 2013. It's very confusing.
I'm not saying the standards aren't low to become a teacher.
No, they're not.
There's
But
only
this
7 people on our course.
No, but this was. They were filming everything we did, and they wouldn't let you leave this country club
until. You
until.
can't go into a room without someone sat there watching us at all times.
I wasn't allowed.
Constant one-to-one.
I wasn't allowed to leave this hotel until I was doing everything perfectly, and I don't mean I had the skills to do it properly, which is how we've been taught to become teachers. It was you need to memorise this script exactly, and if you get a word wrong, you try again tomorrow.
Wow.
And they make robots. And then they fill them with booze so they forget everything. It's bizarre. We've had another question from Synaptic Flare on Twitter. Why on earth do we still have cheques in the UK?
They are the most bizarre thing ever. I think my only explanation is that you give a cheque to a bank, they cash that instantly, the money gets moved to them, they sit and hold it for 3 days, getting the interest, and then they put it in your account where they've got to share the interest a little bit. That's the only way it makes sense to me. Or they've got to wait 3 days while the other bank holds the money.
Little old ladies like a chequebook. Have you got a chequebook?
I think I got given one on one of my.
Have you ever written a cheque?
I don't think so.
I've written maybe 3 or 4 cheques in my life, and they're usually to the kids' school because they want £6 for whatever bullshit they want £6 for, and then it's convenient to write a cheque. That's a good reason for cheques to still exist, but you can't use them anyway. You can't use them in a shop anymore. When I first moved out of home many years ago and I had no money at all, I used to live off cheques. If cheques didn't exist at the turn of this century, I wouldn't have eaten for a year, because all I used to do was I knew that I had a £50 cheque guarantee card. So whatever cheque I wrote up to the value of £50, my bank were honour bound by the cheque guarantee card to pay the shop that money. It didn't matter if I had any money in my account. I ran up so many charges, and when payday came, it would just be clearing off my unauthorised overdraft and paying back all the charges I'd run up, and I'd just start the process again. It was just a way. As long as I spent less than £50 in Tesco, I could eat, even if I didn't have money.
I knew that was possible.
Well, the joys of the cheque guarantee card. See, knowing a system. I'm a wise man.
Cheque guarantee card was about 150 quid, I think.
There you go. You could have spent £150 even when you had no money. You'd obviously have had to have paid it back at some point and be hammered with a £20 charge or something as well. But bottom line is, no food, sheepdog still gets to eat. And that was the joy of the cheque guarantee card.
But can you do that now still?
No, you can't use. I think eventually the banks and the supermarkets got wise to the fact that that was the only reason people ever paid for shopping with cheques anymore. So I don't think you can find anywhere where you can pay by cheque now. I mean, this happened maybe 3-4 years ago now, where you can't pay cheque anywhere. And yeah, you can't pay cheque anywhere, because that was the only time people would do it. It was all about, oh, well, I get paid, because that's the other thing. You know a cheque's not going to come out of your account for a week. So if you know you're getting paid on Friday, it's Tuesday, you're skint, you go and pay for it with a cheque, and it's fraud. I mean, that's what it officially was. When I was trained in banks, they basically told us that it is fraud doing that, and I thought, oh, I better stop then. But yeah, that's why you can't pay by cheque anywhere anymore. So yeah, I don't know why this still exists. I think it's pretty much so parents can pay for school trips, and so the little old ladies can walk into the bank once a week, write a cheque for cash, hand it over to the cashier, and expect to get money back in return.
Which old habits,
yeah, my mum used to do that. Once a week, we'd go into Midland Bank. She'd write a £50 cheque for cash, and that would be her housekeeping money for the week. You haven't been able to do that for 20 years in banks. You can't write a cheque for cash anymore. They have to be payee only. But yeah, little old ladies love them. Right. But I've never in American TV shows. I don't know if it works differently in America. They're always balancing their checkbook. I don't really understand what that means.
All I think of with cheques is The Simpsons. Homer paying by cheque and then going boing. Letting him
Well, that's exactly what I did. That was my system, and everyone did it. I mean, students, I imagine, lived off of cheques 10 years ago. It's all about cheques. And, yeah, I don't know why they still exist. I think it is, like you say, just old habits. Right, we've got another question. This one's from Dean Dang Do on Twitter. I don't think he fully understood what I was asking for when I was asking for banking questions, because he wants to know how much you'd get for a litre down the sperm bank.
I had a quick look, and I can't actually find price per litre.
Well, I don't think anyone can produce a litre. Here's a question. How long would you have to work to produce a litre down the sperm bank? What's your average amount, Sheepdog? Here's a question for you.
I don't know, I don't measure it.
What do you mean you don't measure it? How do you monitor it when you're putting it in your spreadsheet? This is my daily output. Everyone should know their daily output.
Apparently, if it's bull sperm, 213 grand.
What, for a litre?
213k a litre for bull sperm.
Interesting. How easy is it to wank off a bull?
Who knows? Just don't wear red while you're doing it.
I'm just thinking I could get £213,000 for a litre of bull sperm. That must be a hard thing to get hold of. How'd you turn a bull on?
Cows?
Interesting. That'd almost be worth pursuing. You know how they get? You know when you go to farms and stuff, and you have the milking machines on cows. Yeah. Could you get a similar setup for the bull, and just sell it for an extortionate amount of money? The price would soon drop if we got that working.
I don't know, but isn't the idea that I guess male bulls are quite rare? I don't know.
Not that rare, surely.
I don't know. There must be, because they stud them, didn't they? Maybe one's of good enough quality.
We need to buy a good quality bull,
then.
You have
one male bull who spends his life basically being fed well and taken around to any old cow who'll have him.
Interesting. Sounds like your old job at the council.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, we've got another question from Welsh Beck on Twitter. They say that the taxpayer owns RBS. Can I trade in my percentage for the cash equivalent, please? No, of course you can't. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I thought I was going to look it up, and then I thought no. I wasn't going to look it up like I was expecting an answer, but I was wondering if there's any kind of way that you could say, well, just I won't pay tax for a bit to cover my bit.
Who are you going to sell it to? Who's going to buy your share of RBS? Your minuscule share of RBS?
1/70 millionth.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No.
It annoys me when they say the taxpayer owns this. Well, no, not really. Getting back to the cows again. If I buy a steak from Tesco, I don't own the farm that made that steak. I've paid my money out for my steak by then. I'm not the steak buyer. I don't immediately own the whole farm or a share of the farm. I pay my tax, and it's to cover tax.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Overall bill.
Yeah, I don't own a part of the government.
There is a whole misunderstanding with tax, isn't there? Like people will say, I pay my taxes. You do when I worked for the council, and it was quite ironic because a lot of the people that I was working with didn't pay tax, and they'd all be going, "Well, I pay my taxes for this, so you do," and I'd be saying, "Well, you don't," in my head, but also, it's not what it's for. It's all kind of you have to pay these bits so that everything gets done. There's a general bill at the end of the year. We all pay towards that bill. In return, you kind of have free run of the police, the fire brigade, the NHS, schools, everything. I don't really get how it's like a big old pyramid scheme in my head, because I kind of think all the education I've had and all the National Health Service cover I've had, they're never going to get that money back, no matter how much I pay.
Well, that's because you don't ever plan on having a job.
No, but the thing is, I've got a job now, and I'm going to be working until I retire, but I don't see how that's going to cover my education and my NHS bill, especially when I'm on tablets for life. I get a pack of tablets every month for free at the moment, and any other
hair replacement. Your hair could grow back, and you won't need to have them.
I get any prescription free because it affects so many things, and I just don't. I don't really get. I mean, I guess I'm not a specialist case in like a bad way. Just kind of. That's not everyone's in my position.
You did have all that cosmetic surgery when you were younger on the NHS, so I suppose there's.
But I just don't, because there's roads as well and all of that sort of stuff that gets covered by it, and the fact that I'm being defended from terrorism, I guess, and no one's invading the UK because we've got Trident and everything else. So there's all sorts of things that I benefit from that I just don't see how what I pay covers it all, because I don't. And most people, the average wage is like 20 grand. The average, I think. That was a statistic I saw a long time ago, so it might not be anymore. But let's say the average wage is 20 grand. You're paying I think it's about 5 grand a year tax on that. I'm just working it out by something I did the other week with just sort of give or take.
Dividing by 4.
No, that wasn't what I was doing. But I suppose that's quite accurate. Yeah, so you're paying less than £5 tax on that, and you must be getting more. I mean, even if you broke a leg and ended up in hospital, you're covered. That's that because if you did that in Spain, that would cost you more than £5 to be in hospital with a broken leg.
Let's try it out.
Well,
Let's have an experiment.
I told you this before. I know someone who tried to jump over a fire and jumped into the fire by mistake, and that cost a fortune. I think, from the sounds of it. I don't know if she must have had insurance because she was on holiday, but I know that I remember looking up.
Why did she jump into a fire?
She was trying to jump over it. She was at one of these kind of beach party things where you dance and jump over.
Did you say speech parties? What's a speech party?
Beach party.
Everyone takes it in turns reading a speech, and then they all get drunk afterwards and do each other.
Jump over fires.
It sounds bizarre.
Yeah. And there was a thing on the news earlier saying that people, because Spain is supposed to give English people free medical care as part of being in the EU or something, but there are people who, someone went in there for bowel surgery and were charged £25,000. And you kind of think, we could have bowel surgery here for free out of our the average person's £5,000 a year tax. It just doesn't. I don't really see what people are too worried about. To be fair, I don't. They charge me an amount, I pay it as long as I don't have to be affected by anything. I don't really see what it matters too much. I know taxes could be lower, but they're never going to be lower because if they didn't pay for Royal Bank of Scotland, they'd pay for something else. They'd go to another war or something, wouldn't they? And
what, just because they had some spare money left over? We've got a few quid left, lads. Who are we going to invade? I don't think that's quite how it works.
Well, they're never going to put taxes down, are they? That's the point. So, I don't, because schools, again, I don't really get how the NHS would work particularly. They never say, right, we're out of money, you can't have that. They're always adding new wings on and stuff to hospitals. There's always work being done. So I don't know.
Do some research. Get back to me.
Maybe more could be done. Would be the argument.
Right, we have another question. This, again, from Lee McElwain on Twitter. Contactless card payments in shops, are they advanced technology or the work of the devil? I think they're awesome.
I was going to say they're technology.
I haven't got one yet, but I really want one. I love the idea of being able to walk into a shop and just smack my phone into stuff and then take money from me. It's genius.
The only way that comes in that much handier for me, like being a time saver, is if they hurry up with like putting IP addresses and everything, so they can just scan. I can just push my trolley through, and it's all scanned because they've traced the IP addresses, and they just give me a bill straight away, and then I just beat it. You know what I mean? If it's all an instant thing like that, brilliant. But the time saved between getting my phone out and smacking it on something, or sticking my card up a slot and pressing a couple of numbers isn't much.
But I want to use my phone. I don't want to have to take my wallet out with me.
I think I'm waiting for the other bit, the IP bit to happen. Cause that is happening.
You're never happy.
The IP thing sounds awesome, but no, I think it's pretty cool. I don't like it in the respect that it sounds like it's too open to abuse. Someone will just walk past me in the street and could be nicking my money.
I did a whole assignment
I
on
think
this.
you told me they have to be within 10
yeah,
centimetres,
that can't happen. They have to be bloody close.
But 10 centimetres ain't that far.
And they can only take up to 12 quid, I think, is the limit on a contactless payment at the moment. I
still don't really want to be mugged of 12 quid. I know it ain't much, but if they did it, if 10 of them walking down the street did it, that's
plus
120 quid.
You'd have to have it turned on for like person-to-person transfers rather than just for using in a shop.
I suppose that would be easy for them to hack if they had a machine that was just
a magic machine. It'd make mugging so much easier, though, wouldn't it? I'd be tempted to go out mugging if all you had to do is walk past people. If you don't have to, the only thing that's ever stopped me getting into mugging is that I don't really want to have a fight.
I imagine the first time you do it, you must have to register a specific machine. Surely, maybe like you get it out the first time, it says you're alright with that. You go, yeah, I'm happy with that, and then it figures something out. It can't just be as easy as going boop and that's it. There must be an initial bit of effort.
Plus, if it is as simple as just walking past someone and taking their money, does it really matter? 'Cause we'll all just be taking from everybody, so it'll balance out evenly in the end. As long as we all take as much as gets taken from us, we're all right. Sure. If I'm walking past you in the street, you nick 12 quid from me, I'm having 12 quid straight back, it don't matter, does it? As long as we're all nicking, it's all right.
You've got to have everyone involved in it, yeah.
Well, the little old lady with the checkbooks, they're writing out a cheque for 12 quid whilst helping herself to 2 fivers and a £2 coin out your back pocket. She ain't going to be in the system properly. Everyone who's got a phone, as long as you're nicking and getting nicked from, it's fine. It works for me, in which case, no work of the devil.
There's an odd number of people in the country. They don't all have to...
Yeah, you're always nicking from the person who nicks off of you. I'm not saying it works round in a big loop. I'm not saying, okay, you nick from me, now I'm going to nick from that fella over there. And I don't even know why he's here. He has been giving me the creeps for the last 3 hours. He needs to get out.
I choose bodyguard.
Probably. But yeah, I'm not saying we're working around in a massive circle, and eventually it'll work the way around the world and someone else will nick from you again.